Very good morning to everyone. As part of the continuous improvement, we are going to improve the application a little bit. Along with, we are also going to explore the software design techniques using C#. So, as of now, in our application, when we want to build any item, we are typing that manually. The item name and rate, both are, we type them manually. That will not be the case when you have a computer operated billing system. Either they will use a barcode reader to read the item name and item name along with the rate. Otherwise, they use some sort of numbers or keywords to bring the item. So when they bring the item name, automatically the rate will be populated. This is a typical scenario in which most of the billing application used to work. But in our application, it is not like that. In that, we are manually typing the item name and rate, right? So the next step is we want to automate that part. When I type if one or two characters of my item, the item name should come up. Along with that, the rate should also be populated. So also, when they see, in order to do this, we need a database of all the items that we are selling. There should be a database maintained for that. In that database, we store all the items and their respective rate. Then we can use those items and their respective rate as a lookup in this form. So okay, in order to feed those details, the stock details, we need another now form or another user interface through which we can add item details to the stock database or stock table, something like that. Right. So for that, what I am going to do is I'm going to create a new form to feed the item name, rate, and other stuff to the stock table. Right. So for that, what we can do is first we have to bring a new form. For that, I right click here and new item. So forms, I'm going to introduce a form here. And I call this form as stocks or detail. Okay, now we have an empty form here. So in that, we have to have a label to feed the item name. And then we need a rate. To feed both of them, we need a so we have a item name and rate. I think these two things are enough as of now, because these two things we have to add it to the database. So I have an item name. Okay, like we have a OK and cancel button here for this form. And then one other thing, when we add something to the database, we should know what is stored in the database at the very moment. So only then we should know that we will know that we have that is whatever that we inserted, no, that is stored properly. So in order to get that confirmation, it is good that when you add something, you just see that by fetching it from the database, right? So this is a one of the method that we have to follow when we deal with the data insertion. Okay, no. So I think this cannot be okay. This we have to change that to add and then update. Delete. So we have text boxes to feed item name and rate. Then we have these things. Now, after doing it, let me write the routine for add. So when add button is pressed, you can change the buttons like add button. Then we are changing the name of those text boxes here. Right. So when we hit this add button, we have to run, we have to add the whatever the data that we entered there to the table. So for that, what I do, I just copy the code that we have for billing. In that we have a save option. No, the same code can be used, but we should have a different name for the stocks. So copy that and bring it to stock detail.cs. Here you paste it. I think we can maintain the same procedure that we do with this one, like billing, because we are initially adding to the table and then we store that, right? Because we may change that at some point of time. So come here and then in the billing, right? In billing, we have a billing function. So here, as we used to do, like we used to declare a table and then we add the columns to the table, right? No, then you just copy that and come back here and paste that in the class as a member. And then you initialize columns. Right, we have here ID and then item name rate, these three things. And then we have to add this column to table. Right. So here we have, after doing it, we just define them and then we add those columns. So probably in our case, these three will be right. After doing that, we added the columns, and then now when the add button is pressed, see, we have to validate the inputs, right, that we did in the past. So similar way in this case, also we have to validate the inputs. For that, we have a function here. This function is going to, we need to have a bool valid status is equal to true, right? So we are listing errors here. So here we have different names in stock table. So we here in stocks, we have different names for item, right? So let me. So after that, we have quantity, rate, quantity. So, okay, these we also have to check that rate is a number. And so we have a validation status, right? So after that, from billing again, we can bring some more things as well. When they add it, we are testing validation errors, right? Okay, here we have a validate inputs, right? So after that, we also declare a D row, that means the data table row. So then if there is no error, we will come here. If there is a error, we will show the error and come out, right? So if there is no error, we have to add ID, item name, and rate. So these three things we have to do. Then bring that to stock detail, add button. Right. So here, let me paste that. I think we can come back to this later point of time. This is too early to store that in a table. So to store that in, so dr, I think we have a mistake here. We have to declare a zero. I think we can copy these things similar to But the thing is, we have to, for show errors, we don't have function. It is a library function. I think just copy pasting that from here. Bring it to stock details and then just paste that here so that we will get the error displayed. Then we have this item name and rate. So for ID, in case of item name, when we add ID, we add we are starting from number one. That is one way of doing things. Another one is like we can generate a random number and give that to that one. So the best way is using a serial number. So let me come here and then declare a variable, global variable called ID. Int ID is equivalent to 0. Right, so that we will get ID plus 1 item name, but we have to change that item name given to the text box in the stock data. Right, after that, in a billing, we once we add that, we assign that details, the table to data grid view, no? So that yeah, here it is. So add DT rows, and we are assigning this, and then we clear table, we increase the ID. So let me come back here again to stock details. Here we have add, right? But we have to add this row to DT. That is done. Okay. Yeah. Right. Then we have to clear fields. I think this is not needed because we are not going to compute the total. Then we have a clear fields. Clear fields is a function that we have in a building to clear the input boxes after we complete the insertion of data. Right. So we clear this. Let me copy this function completely and bring it to stock details, and we paste that here. Copy that here and paste that here. Then we have a rate. Right. There is a error. Let me check. I think we don't have any error here. We are getting error. It is in stock details only. Okay, rate text box. Rate. Yes, we have that. So there is a typo uh, right now. So save that, and now we have that stock detail. Right. So so data grid v1 will display the data. Let us check whether that is doing. But we have to bring this form. No, to bring this form, we need to have some sort of interface in the main form, because this is not MFD application to close one and bring another. So in this form itself, we should have a way to gateway to bring that one. For that, what I do, I just bring a button here, and I call that button with I change the button text into three dots so that you can explore the item details by clicking this button. So let me simplify that. So when user click this button, we have to bring that form. So for to bring that form, what we can do is we can declare a form here. Mm, stock details. Right. So I think even for this, we have a guideline here in billing. So no, it should not be here actually. This should, okay. Yeah, from here only we are bringing now. So we declare that when so what we can do, stock details child equal to null initially. When we want it to happen, just to copy here. Then when this is clicked, if not equal to null, then you know, stock detail child dot show else we have to show that. Right, if it is there, just to show it. Right. So now So we have three dots here. When we want to export the item detail, just click that. You can, as of now, we don't have any item. So for that, I just add a rice, and then rate is 65 rupees. And then I add that. When I add it, I am getting rice here. But problem with this one is this GUI issues, like it is not maximizing, and it has a new line, those sort of things that we can fix GUI related issues. Other than that, we are able to add it, but we cannot update as of now and delete. That we can fix one by one. So first thing is, let me address these GUI issues. When I maximize it, it should maximize. And I don't want this new line things that make the user to edit in this one. That is not advisable. So what I do, I just terminate the application. Then I go to stock detail design. Just read only, no. So let me fix those anchor, this issue first, anchor issue. Right. Then what else? We don't want that new line. You can make the read only true, which means that we cannot edit that. Then allow user to add rows, right? That we can make it false. All right, so now let me check that behavior. Right, so here I click this button. So this time I just maximize it. It is maximizing. So item name rice, rate is 65. I add that, it is coming here. So like that, we can add multiple items. But when whatever the edit that we want, all those stuff should be done in this one. Finally, we should have an option to save it. If we don't save that, it will not be saved in the table. So it is good to have a button called save in this one, so that when we hit that button, only then we will save that in the XML. Otherwise, we won't. Right? That is somehow sensible, no? Okay, but for updating the records, before doing it, I think I can select the entire row by clicking any cells. That would be more appropriate. So that let me fix that issue in GUI. After that, I let us work for update and delete. Once all those things are done, then we go for save. Right. For that, let me stop. So we can bring the same from, I think, when it is, when we select any row in the data grid view, that should be populated for that. Mm, full row select. When we select that, we have to populate this one, right? For that, we have a routine in billing, which is to populate, I think upon double clicking, we populate item name and rate. Right, so that should be done here. Cell, double click. Rice, 65 rupees. So when we want to update the rate, interesting. It looks like it is not populating. I'm double clicking, but nothing happens. Maybe let me check whether that event is executing. So for that, I have to look for the event and then cell content, double click. What we have in the billing, cell double click. So okay, cell double click, cell content double click. We have two things now. So I think we are making mistake. So for stock, I have to cut this, come back here, cell double click, here it is. Right now. So now let me save that and then run it. Right, so I click here and then I go for rice and then rate is 65. I add that. Once I add it, I want to change the rate. Then I come here, I change that to 85. After changing the 85, just to add it. No, I have to update it this time. For update, just hit this one. When we hit the update, we should have the track of that is which product that we are going to update. For that, we can use ID right now. We can even, when we select this row, we should have that ID stored somewhere that was populated for editing. Then we use that to edit the records, right? For that, what I'm going to do, we're going to follow the same thing that we did in billing. So come here and stop the application. Then in billing, in stock, let us have a ID here, ID text box. So initially, let me check whether it is loading the ID board by keeping that. Rise 65, and when I double click, I'm getting that ID here, but I don't want to see that user to see this ID that is loaded when we double click the row. For that, we can hide it. We can hide that one behind the screen. For that, we have to go here and then choose visibility to false. All right, that's all. So the user will not see that. Okay, we are going to use that as a key to update the record in the table. For that, we can use the same programs that we have for in the building. So same programming line that we have in the building to edit a record, right? So for that, here we copy that and come back here to stock detail in that upon clicking update. We paste that. Here we don't have rider. Let me declare that rider here. Right, so we have only these two. Xbox ID in this case, in stock detail, it is this one. All right, then we have item text box, whatever that we have here. Right, so go with this and bring here. Right, then we do have a rate here. Name it is rice. Rate is 65. And I want to update that to 85 now. Change that to 85 and then just update that. When you upload that, that becomes 85. Right. So things are moving in right direction, but upon updating, I think it is good to clear the fields. So we can call clear field function here. Right. So this is one thing. The next thing that we want to do is deleting. So sometimes we don't want to have an item in this in our stock list. To delete that item, we can again bring the programming lines from billing because we have that for delete here. Just copy here. So just we convert. Okay, first we have to select the record, then we have to delete the record. Right. We have to reassign the number as well. For that, right. So here, right, it is added. Then we have oil certify. So that is done. We want to delete this one. Just delete. Interesting. I think here there is some issues. Okay, because when we do that, when we do it, we have to double click for selection. So let me write again. Rise 65 oil 175. I want to delete oil. I double click that and then I delete that. So it's going. So so we are almost there. But thing is, we are not storing these details that we have in this application to a database. So we have to store that in a database. Only then we can use it for what do you say? We can use it for use it as a lookup table in the billing application. Right. So for that, we can still bring the same program that we have in the billing for save. Right. Just terminate those and hit this one, bring it. This one, copy it, come back to stock details. Here we need a button, right? For saving. So for that, I bring the button called save. So when the save button is clicked, we have to take it So we think the library here. So we have, instead of sales, we need to change this to stocks. And then think we don't need this like stocks, like stocks. And then so here we need an ID. ID. Then these two things we don't need. Right. Then we have right amount, start amount. So this is not needed. Remove that. Rice 65. Then we have oil. Then we save it. When we save it, we have sugar, bin, labor. We have stock XML. Right. So we have a stocks items, and then within that we have item. Okay, I believe this sounds great. We can look up. Now we store the data in the XML. So from XML we can do it, but we have a small issue with this one because we are writing it from data table. I want to check whether when we update certain records, is it reflecting in the XML or not? Let me do that. To check that, what I do, I just edit this one to 300 rupees and then I update that. When I update it, it is updating here. When I save that, it should reflect that 300 right now. But I don't know. I believe it won't happen because we are doing it from data grid view. It happens because it reflects when we update the data grid view, which is in turn is updated in the data table as well. So the things are going fine. Now let us think about how to use the data from this XML as a lookup for item details. Right, in billing. Okay.